What if some of the most successful people in history were just really good liars? From fake doctors and billion-dollar crypto collapses to scams so bold that they fooled entire governments. The world's biggest frauds weren't pulled off in the shadows. They happened in plain sight. And the scary part is that most of them worked for a while. Here are the 9 biggest scams in history, starting with a man who lied his way into becoming a legend.
Doctor, a lawyer, a Luther. So what are you, Frank?
Number 9, Frank Abagnale Jr., the con artist who fooled everyone. In the 1960s, Frank Abagnale Jr. wasn't just faking it, but thriving. By age 21, he had impersonated a Pan Am pilot, a doctor in Georgia, a lawyer in Louisiana, and even a sociology professor, all while forging checks in 26 countries. He didn't use weapons or threats, just charm, confidence, and a stack of counterfeit credentials. Bank tellers handed over money, hospitals let him treat patients, airlines let him fly jump seat. Eventually, the law caught up with him in France. He served time, got extradited, and later turned his talent toward helping the FBI catch other fraudsters. His story became the inspiration for the movie Catch Me If You Can. Turns out, in the pre-digital age, confidence was stronger than background check. And speaking of confidence games, our next scammer didn't just fake a career, but a whole industry. Number 8, Lou Pearlman, the boy band mogul with a Ponzi on the side. If you grew up in the late 90s, you probably heard of NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys. What you may not know is that their manager, Lou Pearlman, was running one of the longest Ponzi schemes in American history. Behind the scenes, Pearlman launched a fake company called Transcontinental Airlines, which existed mostly on paper. He sold fake shares to over 1,800 investors, promising huge returns from an airline that never flew. For over 20 years, he used money from new investors to pay off the old ones, all while presenting himself as a successful music mogul and businessman. Meanwhile, many of his artists, including NSYNC, would later sue him for fraud and underpayment. In 2008, Pearlman was sentenced to 25 years in prison. He died in custody in 2016, and if you thought manipulating fans was low, wait until you see what happens when a scam collapses a country's economy. Number 7, the South Sea Bubble. Britain's 18th century economic meltdown. In 1720, the British government partnered with the South Sea Company to consolidate national debt. In return, the company received exclusive trading rights in South America. At least, that's what investors were told. In reality, there was no real trade. The company made its money by selling shares and hyping up its potential. Parliament members invested. Royalty got involved. The stock price skyrocketed over 800%. But there were no profits whatsoever, just speculation. When investors started to catch on, the bubble burst, wiping out fortunes and triggering national financial chaos. The scandal led to arrests, resignations, and a total collapse of public trust in the financial system. It was one of the first major stock market scams in modern history, and it proved just how easy it is to sell the dream of something that doesn't exist. Number 6. Charles Ponzi, the man behind the name. In 1920, Charles Ponzi promised investors a 50% return in 45 days. His business model? Buying and reselling international postal reply coupons. Sounds boring, but the returns? Supposedly massive. The truth is that there were no real profits. Ponzi was just using money from new investors to pay off the old ones. The classic scam that would later bear his name, the Ponzi scheme. At its peak, he was raking in $250,000 a day. That is over $3 million in today's money. People were mortgaging their homes to get in, and for a while, it worked, until it didn't. When auditors finally looked into his finances, they found he was at least $7 million in debt. He was arrested, jailed, and eventually deported to Italy. But the term Ponzi scheme stuck, a permanent reminder of just how easy it is to fall for returns that sound too good to be true. Scam number 5 didn't just fool average people. It convinced billionaires, politicians, and even the media. Number 5. Theranos, the startup that faked its science. When Elizabeth Holmes launched Theranos, she promised to revolutionize medicine. 1 drop of blood, dozens of tests, fast results, and no needles. It sounded like magic. Investors lined up, pouring in over $700 million. The problem? The tech didn't work. Theranos devices gave inaccurate results, sometimes putting patients in real danger. But the company faked demos, cherry-picked data, and silenced whistleblowers to keep the illusion alive. Holmes was featured featured on magazine covers, hailed as the female Steve Jobs. Meanwhile, the actual scientists were begging people to look behind the curtain. In 2015, investigative journalist John Carreyrou exposed the nasty truth, and by 2018, the company collapsed. Holmes was convicted of fraud and sentenced to over 11 years in prison in 2022. Number 4. Enron, the energy giant that lied to the world. Next on the list is Enron, a company that faked revenue, profits, and whatnot. In the late 1990s, Enron was considered one of the most innovative companies in the world. It claimed to have revolutionized energy trading, and its stock price soared like crazy. But behind the scenes, Enron's executives were using a complicated web of accounting tricks to hide losses and inflate earnings. They created fake subsidiaries to take on debt and report phantom profits. Investors were kept in the dark. Wall Street praised the company, and employees poured their savings into Enron stock, believing they were building their futures. Then in 2001, surprise, surprise, it all came crashing down. The numbers didn't add up, the SEC got involved, and within weeks, Enron declared bankruptcy. Over 20,000 employees lost their jobs and savings. Arthur Andersen, one of the 5 largest accounting firms in the world, was destroyed for its role in the cover-up. The Enron scandal became the textbook example of corporate fraud.
Notorious cryptocurrency scammer. Dr. Ruja Ignatova.
Number 3. OneCoin, the crypto queen's billion-dollar illusion. In the crypto world, few stories are stranger than that of Ruja Ignatova, also known as the crypto queen. In 2014, she launched OneCoin, a supposed cryptocurrency that would rival Bitcoin. Ruja promised a faster, safer, and more accessible alternative to traditional banking. Investors from around the world bought in, believing they were early adopters of a financial revolution. But there was no blockchain or even the actual cryptocurrency. OneCoin was pure smoke and mirror, a multi-level marketing scam disguised as a tech breakthrough. By 2017, the company had taken in over $4 billion from investors in more than 175 countries. Then, the queen disappeared. She boarded a plane in Bulgaria and vanished just as authorities closed in. To this day, her whereabouts remain unknown. OneCoin collapsed, and thousands of people were left with worthless tokens. Now that's a magic trick for you. Number 2 is still on crypto, and it just had to be FTX. You see, FTX wasn't pitched as a scam, it was pitched as the future of finance. At its peak, it was valued at $32 billion and backed by celebrities, athletes, and venture capital giants. Its founder, Sam Bankman-Fried, was hailed as a genius, but behind the sleek branding and philanthropic image was a staggering case of fraud. Prosecutors revealed that FTX executives misappropriated at least $10 billion in customer funds. That money was secretly funneled to Alameda Research, a trading firm also controlled by Bankman-Fried, to cover massive losses. In November 2022, FTX filed for bankruptcy. Nearly 1 million users were suddenly locked out of their accounts. The collapse shook the entire crypto industry and triggered widespread panic in financial markets. Bankman-Fried was arrested and charged with fraud, money laundering, and campaign finance violations. His fall from grace was as rapid as his rise, a cautionary tale about trust, speculation, and how easily a fortune can disappear overnight. But as large as the FTX collapse was, it still doesn't eclipse the scale, longevity, or damage caused by the man at the very top of our list. 1. Bernie Madoff, the king of the Ponzi scheme. Bernie Madoff wasn't just running a Ponzi scheme, he was running the largest financial fraud in history. For decades, Madoff claimed to deliver consistent, market-beating returns through a secretive investment strategy. Hedge funds, celebrities, banks, charities, they all gave him money, and for a while he made good on those returns, on paper. But there were no real trades or profits. Madoff was simply taking money from new investors to pay off the old ones. It was a classic Ponzi scheme, hidden beneath layers of trust, prestige, and a reputation that no one dared question. Even the SEC failed to stop him despite repeated warnings. When the 2008 financial crisis hit and investors tried to withdraw their funds, the whole thing collapsed. The losses? An estimated $65 billion. Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in prison. He died behind bars in 2021. But his name remains a chilling reminder of how far deception can go when built on confidence, credibility, and just the right amount of fear. But here's the twist. You just got scammed into learning something. If you enjoyed being bamboozled by history, press the like button. Like it's a big red wire you're definitely not supposed to cut. And remember, real recognize real, but scams, they recognize everyone.